Hello everyone, I am Harmonic Distortion, and I have a confession to make. I have recently learned that, by definition, I am a furry. And it has opened my eyes as I have done many of research. Dang my English. I have done much research on the topic of what exactly a furry is. As my research concludes, I sound like some person from frickin' the Magic School Bus. Yay. A furry is anyone in the fandom that likes anthropomorphic animal characters. Mostly like cartoon characters, as most sonas or personas, which are basically a personality of yourself, a version of yourself, or a character you mostly align with that you have either created, bought, or had someone else make for you. And I end up actually already have one. Anthropomorphic is a word that I have used that I need to actually classify on what anthropomorphic is. Anthropomorphic is a word meaning to add human characteristics to non-human things. Like, for example, you look to the old cartoons with like Felix the Cat or Betty Boop, and then you'd have dancing and talking trees. Those are anthropomorphic trees, even though they are trees, because of the fact that they can sing and dance and move. It goes along with the same thing as literary term personification in storytelling. Well, now to the more entertaining bit. What turned me into a furry? Well, let's do say. I am a furry because when I was very young, my mother introduced me to a show that she used to grow up with. The show in question was, as I will say, a classic. Thundercats. It was actually one of my favorite shows, but now when I look back on it, the animation style and just the visuals of Thundercats bothers me now. Because when I was younger, it made sense, but now it doesn't. It's kind of funny. Also, the fact that I was one of those kids that I would just stay up for hours on the TV cable show Boomerang, watching old Yogi Bear and all these other old cartoons like SWAT Cats, and I even watched Captain Planet, but that's besides the point. But yeah, it wasn't until only a few years ago that I started getting closer into the more common furry fandom, as in I stumbled across some anthropomorphic art, which I fell in love with, and I actually am beginning to try and draw it myself. If you give me a quick second, I will actually pull up a piece that I actually drew not too long ago. There we go. This is the art that's in question. I actually drew this, and this was my first time ever drawing anthropomorphic art. And to be completely honest, in my defense, this was my first time, but I think I actually did very well, especially since I did it freehand with nothing to help me, and the only inspiration I had was the pose, which can be easily taken from anywhere. And I must humbly apologize for any background noises you hear. I am outside, I am surrounded by flies, birds, and a fox from time to time. Yeah, I am not the happiest camper when it comes to noise. But I love nature, and I can't argue with that. Alright, now that I have said enough about me, it's time to get into something that is more serious. Alright, the furry fandom has a lot of misconceptions. Mostly due to media trying to pick up on a point that it is filled of nothing but perverts and sex-crazed people. Which was highly carried by the fact that in 2003, CSI released an episode which surrounded it was sort of like a furry convention of a murder. But the biggest issue was the only thing that they showed was they didn't show furries. They showed what I call furrophiles, which is disgusting, and it's just awful. And 90% of furries, don't quote me on that, but it probably is a lot closer than most people think, either try to ignore that part of the fandom, or are extremely disgusted by it and don't want anything to do with that corner. But hey, every single fandom has people like that. Star Trek, Sonic, My Little Pony. Every fandom has people that are that disgusting and gross. There are just normal people in everyday life that are just that gross. So hey, that is not what furry or being a furry is about. To be completely honest, being a furry, or what a furry is, like I said earlier, it's just being part of the fandom, being a fan of anthropomorphic animal characters. But it's mostly centered around creativity, socialization, and art. Yes, you heard me, art. And sadly, I have no way of finding good art and then linking the creator, so wait! Yes, I do! I do have one! I will show you it right quick. Because I have partial rights because the person who did this art was my girlfriend! So that's kind of... Alright, here's the art I was talking about. This is the Fallen Hollow, and this is her persona, or fursona, as said in the furry community, which is the Fallen Hollow. Girl I love. But aside from that, I'm going to go back to my normal image and continue from there. When it goes back to furry art, there's not just drawn art, there's paintings, there's books, there's comics, there's stories, there's entire worlds. Not only that, some people make their very own animal species in order to be more unique in the fandom. Some examples of that are, well, there's a species that was made by a very specific maker, a fursuit maker. I need to quote me on that. Fursuit makers, I need to cover first. They are people who make fursuits, obviously, but a fursuit does not define a furry. Most furries don't even have partial fursuits, which is just a head, paws, a tail, or some feet. Very few, when it comes to percentage range, actually have a full body suit. And most of the reason of that is because of how dang expensive they are. An average fursuit full fursuit I must say, can go for minimum about $1,600. On average, they can get lower. And maximum, the highest one that I remember ever hearing about was sold at an auction for about $10,000. So yeah, they're very expensive. The heads alone can be maybe $300 to $800 to a few thousand just for a head if it's like technologically enhanced with like LEDs. But yeah, fursuits. Very expensive. Not as easy to make as you would believe. There's a lot of actual sewing, a lot of things that you require in order to make it, and the high quality fur to make said fursuits is not as cheap as we hope it would. We wish it was, but it's not. Yes, I plan on becoming a fursuit maker. Yay! Even though I probably won't do commissions until I'm like 23. I am 16 right now at the time of making this video. Hello everyone! Well, let's see. What was I going on about? Dang it. My train of thought is all over the place. Well, whoop-de-doo. What can you fight? What can you fight? Ah, no. Oh, wait. I was covering, yes, fursuits, yes. That is another form of art, and it's really intriguing, and there's a lot of time and effort that goes into making these things. But besides fursuits, there's also the lines of... Oh, now I remember what I was actually doing. I was talking about the characters. These special species are actually made by fursuit makers, and they have to give special permission in order to make these species. They are mostly copyright hybrids in retrospect, which would be, there is a kitsune or fox shark hybrid thing. It looks kind of neat. There's the Dutch angel dragon, which is not as unanimously out there, because the Dutch, meaning the Dutch part of the name, is actually a reference to the original creator's favorite pet horse, which makes it to where the Dutch angel dragons have a kind of horse-like appearance sometimes. Then we have something that literally just came straight out of science fiction and is not even counted as an animal at all, but has been adapted by the furry community. And that is a Sergal, which is an alien, shark, rabbit thing. There's so many things in a Sergal, I can't even count them all. And then there's like a ton of others that you can go and find. Like, I'm not even stopping you. Don't take my video alone as research. Yes, I've done a lot, but my ability to speak to people is below par. I might be 6 foot tall, and I might be a furry, but hey, talking's hard. Especially when you stutter, and I used to do that a lot. Oh my, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm talking to myself while I'm supposed to be talking to you. Oi. Jeez. I hope I'm entertaining. But obviously, I am not very bright at all. Kind of sad. Well, actually, I'm a genius, but aside from that. Well, back to the point of art. Yes, there's painting, there's lots of other things. And there are even accessories that are made for people who go to conventions, which is the next topic that I'm talking about. When usually a lot of furries get together in one place for a convention. Everyone knows what a convention is, so there should be no really big reason for me to explain what a convention is, but that's enough definition. Where a bunch of people who like the fandom get together, which is either a gathering or a convention if there's a lot of people, and you have to pay an entrance fee. But the best thing about the entrance fee is that half of it can go to paying for the housing for it. And another part goes to charity, which is really important to the furry fandom. They have raised tons of thousands of dollars for charities all over the world just because of cons, conventions. That's literally it. They actually have saved entire restaurants from closing down. They have donated $12,000 to a bulldog rescue. It is amazing what furries can do. And not just to say that, most conventions improve the economy of wherever they're being held. Shoot, one of the Anthrocons, which happened, I believe it's in Virginia, or nope, it's Pennsylvania, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Just look up Anthrocon. It actually brought millions of dollars into the economy with all the people who came. It is amazing. Yeesh, I am so excited that I'm joining this fandom, and I have joined this fandom. I just wish that there was a way for me to be more active and more helpful. But aside that, hey, that's all for me for now. Harmonic distortion, Brand new furry. Alright, if anyone watches this, because I highly doubt anyone is, and you want to leave a comment, go right on ahead. I will respond if I see a comment at all. I will respond to the comment. I'm not even kidding. But, aside from that, you can expect more videos in the future, because I'm actually focused and want to be a successful YouTuber. A dream of mine. I need to start covering these off the tangent, off the wall things in other videos, because I am taking up way too much of your time with my monologues. Alright, this is Harmonic Distortion, like I've said for the 5th time in this video, and have a good day, have a good night, have a good afternoon. See ya!